Hi again. Developing your vocabulary and using a range of words to describe is a really important skill to have. That's both in your speaking and your writing. And this is a short video with an interesting activity to help you develop your writing and develop your words to describe using your senses. So what you'll need is a piece of paper and a pen and a piece of food, something that you don't normally use when you are doing some writing. So that could be something like a sweet, or it could be something healthy like a piece of fruit, or I'm going to use a tortilla chip. I'm going to use a crisp today to help you and to give you a bit of an example. So what you do is you start off by separating your piece of paper into 5 sections. Each section will represent a sense. So we've got sight, what you see, touch, what you feel, smell, sound, and taste down there at the bottom. And the idea is to spend more time than usual focusing on each of the senses. So it's a bit of a mindful activity as well. So I start off by looking at my tortilla chip. So I'm going to spend time looking at it in detail. I'm going to look at the shape, and I'm going to look at the surface, and I'm going to look at the edges, and I'm going to look at the colours. And each time I come up with a different idea, I'm going to write it on my sense map, and I'm going to put all of those things in the sight box. So I might put triangular, I might put, it's kind of an orangey colour, it's speckled. I might look at the sharp edges and the corners, it's slightly bent and curled up, so I might use words like curled. And then once I've done that and spent some time on that, I would move on to touch. So I'd start to look at the texture. So I'd feel the surface and I'd feel the edges. It's quite uneven, it's quite bumpy. So I'd look at the different things that make up that texture. Having spent a bit of time on what this feels like, I would move on and I'd start looking at the smell. So I'd start to really take notice of the savoury smell. It smells quite salty, it smells quite flavoursome, a bit spicy, and make a whole list on my sense map of all the different words to describe the smell. Obviously then we move on to sound. And sound's an interesting one because you would look at and think about the noise that it makes when you touch it, then the noise that you make when you break it, and then the noise that you make when you actually start to eat it. And then once you've got lots of different sound words written down, you would move on to taste, which is obviously the kind of key thing when we're thinking about food, is the taste. Think about the different sensations as you start to eat it. It might expose different flavours and different tastes as you go along. So by the end of this, after you've spent a little bit of time thinking about it and working your way through your senses, you should have a whole load of different ideas and lists on your piece of paper. But the first ideas are never just the best ideas. So what we'd like you to do is to go back to the original words that you come up with and try and improve them. So think again, maybe have another taste and another crisp to make sure that you have not missed anything. Write down different words. So if I've started with something as simple as crunch, I might move on to crispy and crackling. I might use different words to describe the texture. So I might start off with the word bumpy, but I might say uneven or rough. So I've ended up with a whole load of different words on my sense map. Now that can be developed into a whole range of sentences, or you could even compile different paragraphs for each of the senses. So you could have a paragraph on what it looks like when you first put it in your hand, and then move on to the next sense. What does it feel like when you touch it? You could develop it using things like comparison and similes. It'd be really interesting to see your versions of this if you want to upload them onto the website, and maybe try it with a whole range of different foods, because the words that I would use to describe something like a tortilla chip, and the sight and the sound and the smell and the senses that are used to look at and to eat the tortilla chip would be very different to the ones that I would use for a piece of fruit. So it'd be really interesting to see all the different ideas that you have. So it's really important to be continuing to develop all those pieces of vocabulary whilst you are off school, and this is a really interesting and great way to do that. Good luck with that. I hope to see some of your efforts soon. Bye.